Friends with benefits. For those of you who watch this movie, it is the perfect example that illustrates our today's script of forming relationships. For those of you who haven't, it's about two people committing to a physical relationship without any feelings and any emotions. But eventually, of course, they fall in love. If I had watched this movie with my grandma, she would be so upset. And she would tell me, Caro, this is not the way you find your husband. Well, what we all have to understand is things change. People change. And even the way we form relationships change. So to explain this cultural paradigm shift in American society, I'm going to explain and elaborate three main eras. And the first one started in the late 19th century and lasted to the early 1920s, when the second era emerged and lasted until the 1960s, and our today's era started then following in the 1960s. Starting off with the calling era, it was the young women that called respectable men into their homes, into their living room, to have a nice conversation with her parents. And she would play the piano to entertain the young man. They would have an appropriate conversation, and the parents were supervising at all times. So they were given little privacy. And because of little privacy, they had limited sexual activity. Because the main goal was finding a future husband, and sex was preserved for marriage. To conclude, to summarize this era, it is the women that had the control. The family hugely influences the choice of finding a suitable husband, and the main goal is finding a future husband. So in the 1920s, the youth wanted more privacy and more freedom, and the invention of the car actually made this possible. Now, they were taking out the girls from their homes. They were asking them formally to go on a date, which could be anything from going to a movie, to a dinner, or to a social event. And now going on a date was set into place, and it was called the dating era. So it was the young man that now had the control because of the monetary move. Like Beth Bailey says in her book From Front Porch to Backseat, money purchased obligation, money purchased inequality, and money purchased control. Like I said, there is a move in power from the females to the males. And what we also see is that they were taking away the girls from their homes, so the peers get more and more influence. Willard Waller, a sociologist who conducted research here at Penn State, called this the rating and dating complex in the 1930s. And the youth formed these checklists for the young kids to follow, to be popular, to go on dates, and one of the factors is having multiple partners. This is very revolutionary, because now it was about meeting new people, it was about gaining experience and being sexually active in terms of necking and petting. So it was okay to be sexually active. It was okay to have privacy and to meet new people and to go around and have fun. But after the war in the 1940s and 1950s, the youth no longer wanted to have a crazy time. They seek comfort and security, so they seek a steady partner. And this sub-era is called going steady. With this sad and longer relationships, they were able to form deeper bonds that were more emotional and more intimate. So Martin Whyte called this in his book the intimacy revolution, because they were ready to be sexually active and to exchange this intimacy. To summarize this era, it is about the peers' influence that rate who's hot and who's not. It is about having multiple partners before marriage, because marriage is no longer the main goal for forming relationships. It is just to have fun and to gain experience. But for the hippies, finding one partner or being steady is not the right thing. They wanted even more freedom, because they challenged the prudish attitude towards sex. And with the legalization of the birth control and abortion, this was made possible. Sexual encounter without commitment and any risk, of course they could do that. So this is what we also call a hookup. And Reuben in England defined this as the following in their book Decline of the Date and Rise of Hookup. Two people hanging out in the dorm or see each other at a party, start talking or dancing, and sometime during the evening go somewhere private, often a dorm room or apartment, and something sexual happens. But something sexual can be anything from kissing to sexual intercourse. So it could just mean a kiss at a party, and that would be hooking up. It's not just sexual intercourse, just to make this clear. And like Bogle also says, it happens at parties. So there were no formal invitations anymore. It is all about body language and eye contact and non-verbal clues. And with alcohol that we often find at parties, we lose our inhibitions and anything can happen. So the goal is, again, fun and experience. So in the hooking up eras, it happens at parties, it's no longer formal, it's about multiple partners, it's about sex, and it's about fun and experience. To conclude, we have undergone 3 main eras: the calling era, the dating era, and the hooking up era. And in the paradigm shift, we see a move in power from the females to the males, and we see a shift in intention from finding a husband to just having fun and to gain experience. And the causes for this shift is an enhancement of technology and a change in our social norms. But what does it mean for us? Do we lack confidence because now we can only initiate forming relationships when we're being drunk? And what does it mean for our kids? Does it mean that does it mean they will stick the same?